Hi, everybody. Jack Russell, president of OneZone. Welcome to the OneZone podcast. My guest today, Dr. Kartz, Chancellor of Ivy Tech, Hamilton County. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the podcast, our studio. We welcome our mayors once a month. We've got business leaders. We've had state officials. And so one of our greatest assets in all of our communities is education in our schools. And I thought, what better way to have you on our podcast to talk about Ivy Tech, because it is a gem that people need to know about in Hamilton County. So
thank you for having me.
Of course. So for our podcast today, I thought first we'd talk about you.
Okay.
And then we would dive into Ivy Tech. And I think that was kind of my goal today. So when we talk about you and I have had this conversation. You've done State of Ivy Tech for us and different things like that. Mm-hmm. Number one, what I think is amazing about you, first in your family to go to college, which I think is amazing. But let's talk a little about your story and what led you to coming to Hamilton County. I would love that.
Yeah. So it wasn't a straight path.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't know like that a chancellor was a job that you could have when I was a child.
And as a chamber person, I completely
right. You weren't like, I want to be a chamber president when you're 8 years old.
Exactly.
So I really took a winding path. And I think where it all started is when I was in getting my undergraduate. I have a business degree.
Yeah.
And I filled up all of my business electives with classes that I liked, which should be telling, right?
Yeah.
Like, if every class in your major you're not really enjoying, you probably shouldn't be getting that degree.
Yeah.
So and all of my classes were in writing and in literature. Mm-hmm. And it started with a professor who just encouraged me to go on and get a master's in writing.
Yeah.
And as part of that master's, I had a teaching assistantship. And that's where I fell.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I fell in love with teaching writing. And I thought that's what I would do forever.
Yeah.
And I did it for a little bit. But when we moved here to Indiana, my husband's a Hoosier, which is what brought us
there
here.
There you go.
I then became head of the department, and then dean, and then vice chancellor. None of these were like things that I was necessarily looking to do. And so the pivotal moment for coming to Hamilton County was when the campus became a campus.
Yeah.
So it was a site
100%.
Off of Indianapolis. And that's where I was at Ivy Tech. I was working as a dean. And the opportunity to start programs from the ground up was one that I could not pass up. And so I came to the campus as the vice chancellor for academic affairs. And then when our inaugural chancellor, Stacy Atkinson, she was promoted as chancellor of the Indianapolis campus, I just was like, well, if it's not me, who is it going to be? And that's kind of how I fell where I am, and I'm really loving it.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. My joke with Stacy is that I think she announced that they made the announcement she was chancellor, and I was probably the first phone call to join the board, our board of directors. And then that was probably about the same for you, was when I heard you became chancellor. I was like, hey, by the way, this is OneZone and you're on our board.
You were my first meeting. It was like probably the next day.
Yes.
We did not go to your favorite restaurant, but we
we did meet here. But I remember that. And I think for me, what was so important was from a board, chambers are so traditional in the sense of, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but we're really good at like having board members that are banks and hospitals. And I always felt like we needed to challenge ourselves. And what better way than to bring literally a college that is in our community to have you at the table to be able to have that vision for businesses. And so that is why I am the way I am.
Yeah.
But it's been fun, and that's why I've enjoyed having you on the board. But I think that's powerful, because I think what you've been able to, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but how it's grown and how it's grown so quickly, and I think how the community and how it seems to me like how the students have embraced it truly being a campus. And I think that is super powerful. Now, before we go to Ivy Tech, so I know you love when I bring these things up, but you did win an award, Trailblazer in Higher Education. For those that don't know, Trailblazer in Higher Education, what is that? And then what does that mean to you? Because not everybody loves to talk about how they get an award, but you get an award because of the things you do and how people
Yeah.
notice the things you do, and it is special. So I'd love for you to talk about that before
No,
we
I
talk about
don't. I
IVT.
don't love.
I know you don't.
I don't love the spotlight. I was completely blindsided by that email. When I got the email, I thought it was spam. And I ignored it until somebody followed up with me again.
Yeah.
And then so it is an award from an academic publication.
Yeah.
And it's nomination based, so somebody nominated me. But what I think the way that I try to look at the award is really like my role is to be the face of the campus, and the award really is for the campus.
Yes.
So our campus is doing things that I think are at the forefront of what a community college could be doing. And so I'm happy to accept the award on behalf
Yes.
of the team,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't be able to do what we do without the team. And a lot of times, what we do, the ideas come from the team.
Yep.
So I think it's a recognition of the success of our campus.
I love it. And that's what leads me to my next part, which is, since you've joined Ivy Tech Hamilton County, it has grown a lot.
Mhm.
And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how I don't think people realize how much it's grown
Sure.
over those years, and I think that would be important. But I would also love for you to chat a little bit about for those that are listening, what would surprise them about the campus. I can think of a couple things off the top of my head, but
Okay.
the things that are going on in the building, whether that secretly, I don't want to steal your thunder, but like the nursing program and things like that, like those are awesome. But like number one, how quickly it's grown,
Mhm.
and number two, what are some things that for people that see the building and they just see the exterior, there's
Yeah.
so many great things that are going on inside of it. What would surprise them?
Yeah, I love that. And I'm curious to hear what yours are
Yeah.
when I'm done. But so when we became a full service campus in 2021, we were serving about 1,000 students a year up until that point. So whenever I talk about the campus, I have to talk about our origin story.
Yeah, 100%.
Because we became where we are at 300 North 17th
Yep.
because Senator Luke Kinley, the commissioners, the city, the county council, like so many people wanted to have an Ivy Tech in that location.
Yep.
That is why we are where we are. So for the first several years, we were a site off of the Indianapolis campus, which meant that Indianapolis at that time, their kind of area of service was Marion and all of the donut counties. And so during that time, just offering classes, not necessarily offering full degree programs, and really looking at that broader Central Indiana, what does Central Indiana need? We were serving about 1,000 students a year. This last academic year, 25-26, we served 10,127. I only know that because I just had a board meeting and I had to report my numbers. So
That's unbelievable.
We've grown a lot.
Yeah.
And part of it is because of my team. Like I don't want anyone to think this is like if you build it, they will come. Like you have to build something really great and they will come. But what I think those numbers show is how right are those who really wanted an Ivy Tech in Hamilton County were. That there's so much workforce need. There's so much desire from students in our community, whether it's to take class. Some of them just come back and take classes. They're at other four-year schools in the state, but when they come home over the summer, they're taking a class. Some of them are getting full degrees. So I think those numbers really just show how correct
that's unbelievable.
The original people who brought us here were. What would surprise them? I think our programming. So, and I think this is true maybe in a lot of pockets in Indiana. So we started as a vocational school, and we do that. We have a building construction program. We have a welding program. We have our health sciences program, but Ivy Tech is also a strong transfer option. And so we offer over 30 programs, and our students either go directly into the workforce, or they transfer on
Yep.
to another institution and get their bachelor's or their master's.
Yep.
And so we have kind of a dual mission there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my wife is one of them. As you got to meet
Yes.
her, yes, my wife is one of them who spent her first year to, I think it was like a year or two with Ivy Tech and then transferred over to IU. But
Yes.
it's one of her favorite things that she ever did.
Yeah.
And it is also in one of the things I have to tell you too is, most student loans we're paying are my student loans. and,
Right.
And because she took the time to say, hey, what do I want to do? How do I want to invest my time and energy? And she loved her time at Ivy Tech, and she was doing the Indianapolis campus at the time.
Yes.
But she loved doing that. And so I was excited that you got to meet her. And she was like, oh, yeah, I went to school there, and this is what I did. So I love that. And I would tell you, I think for me, we just did our Leadership Institute at your campus. And I think one of the things, even for somebody that's in the know, to see being there in the morning and and seeing students, we take that for granted. Like, we have this asset in our backyard, and it was so fun to sit there as I'm directing my people to go upstairs. It's fun to watch students come in, like they got their book bag and they're going to class, and I'm like, oh, like I know it sounds silly, but you just look at the building. There's so many students walking in that building each and every day, and it was just some of them are in groups, and then all of a sudden they're down in the little area down what I'm talking about, where you walk down the stairs, and the common area, and they're studying together and they're working together. And I'm like, this is, when you say campus, it is a campus. I feel so. I guess for me, as I was just sitting there for like 30 minutes in the lobby area, it was so fun to see education. Like, these two are working on a project and they're like prepping and getting ready, and I'm like, yeah, this is right here. So I know it sounds silly. Like, I know you have great programs, but also that environment of education, you can feel it. And it was fun to be able to watch and see how people are just starting their mornings and getting ready for class. And I'm like, wow, this is happening right here. And 10,000 are happening right here. And I think that's super cool. So
I love that you bring that up, because we've been very intentional over the last 5 years to try to make it's been requested by students. They want the campus to feel like a college campus. They want it to be a space that they spend time in. And so we've been, over the last 5 years, making spaces where they are their spaces to do the studying, to hang out with each other, so that they have somewhere to go between classes. And we're seeing that as well, where more
as
and
an
more
outside person,
students are hanging out
you were
on
doing
campus.
that, because I saw it all morning. And even when I left, it was even busier, because I was there a little early. So it was even busier when I left. And I thought, this is it. Like, this is what I'm sure that's what you guys envisioned as you guys were growing was. And I think and I know it's not one of my questions, but you guys do I think you guys do a great job of listening to your students. What are your needs? What are your wants? How can we support your education? I saw that when we did State of Ivy Tech, but also I could feel it when I was there, is that these students feel like they have different areas of the building that are theirs. And I think that's intentional, and obviously it is. So I just wanted to say kudos to you for that.
Thank you.
So on the business side, obviously being a OneZone podcast, what are you hearing today from employees or employers in Hamilton County? And, how does that relationship with our business community work? And how are we helping with those needs and wants? And I think that's something that you've done a great job. I think there's a lot of partnerships that I think people will be shocked how many people are working on this and trying how many times we collaborate and partner together. But from an Ivy Tech standpoint, looking at it, what are you hearing? And then how are you and your campus being able to tackle some of those issues? Because workforces, doesn't matter where you are, everyone's talking about it.
So there's definitely a need for specific skills. So the one right now that we're trying to solve for is medical imaging.
Okay.
We don't have a medical imaging program at our campus. It's, if you talk to our healthcare partners, they start with nursing, and then the second is medical imaging. There's also a lot of high school students who are interested in going to imaging. They want to go into healthcare, but they don't necessarily want to go the nurse route. So, and then also in manufacturing, there's a variety of manufacturing skills. But I think the commonality across all industries is planning for now, but then also how quickly everything is changing in
Yeah.
all of the industries with technology, is that ability to pivot. And so what's really interesting when I started teaching, now I told you I fell in love with higher ed because I started teaching, and that was 20 years ago. But the same skills are what are the highlights across all industries today, which is communication, the ability to pivot, the ability to problem solve, or like flexibility. And so what we try to do is bring that into the classroom. We do a lot of hands-on, even in trades and healthcare, obviously that's hands-on, but in all of our programs, real world, as much as we can get them like on real world projects, they are learning that teamwork, collaboration, all of those skills that you need no matter where you are. That is, I was meeting with an industry, somebody who just moved to Noblesville, and they're thinking, what are their needs right now? They just moved here, but also they know that they're working on this technology to kind of automate. So in 5 years,
100%.
what they're hiring for now, they already know they're probably not going to need. And so they're also thinking, like, how do we find people that we can then kind of move into a different role with our organization? And so we talk a lot to students about that too. Like, we're training you for your first job, but we're also setting you up to, if you desire, to advance into other jobs.
Yeah. I think that's huge, because and I'm sure you've seen it over the course of time, how education has changed over the years. I even think about like these high school kids. We had Dr. Mundy and Dr. Airwood yesterday at our State of the Towns, and they even talked about how like these 8th graders have to kind of figure out where they're going to go and what they want to do. And I kind of was laughing because I'm trying to think of myself in 8th grade.
I
was worried.
I had no
What
idea.
I was worried. And by the way, as a general studies degree, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I wish I would have had a lot of those resources in high school. And even probably 8th grade, I probably needed them. But you look at that, how much it's evolved. And so the things that you guys are teaching are skills that even as somebody that's a small organization that's hiring people, it is a difficult communication, writing, stuff that is not always in the book is those skill sets of how to communicate with other external people that you're trying to communicate with, how to communicate internally as a team. Again, we're a team of 6, and we still have, especially young talent that comes in. How do we train them and teach them how to write an email? Like, I know that sounds silly, but like, that's not a college class, right? Like in my like, how to write an email 101. Like, so when you don't address the person at the beginning and you say, hey, blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe we should address them as, hi, such and such. This is blah, blah, blah. And those skills, it's not their fault sometimes. It's just that they never had. It's either 140 characters or they've texted it. So I say that jokingly but it is skills that they need to learn, and I appreciate you guys do that, because even for some, that's what I hear a lot is they can do. If I can find somebody that has X skills, I can teach them the job.
Right.
I hear that a lot. Is if they have these skills, and meaning the writing or the communication or even some of the soft skills of showing up and doing things, I can teach them the other things. And I think being able to collaborate from a business standpoint, and I think our business community is pretty loud sometimes of this is what they want, but I think you guys do a good job of doing that. And I think we have to, because you guys have the talent, and I think businesses are fighting every day for that talent.
Yeah.
And that's huge. So yes. So when we talk about looking ahead in the future, as you look ahead, Hamilton County consistently is the best place to live, well, Carmel and Fishers are the number 1 and number 2. But I don't want to brag or anything. But we look ahead, and we're in a growing community, continues to grow. I think Westfield just announced after their special census, they've grown 39%. I mean, they're the 6th fastest growing community, and they probably higher now, but 6th fastest growing community. How does Ivy Tech prepare for that? How are you guys looking ahead as well, because of being in Hamilton County? knowing that the potential is just astronomical. It's just always going to be
Yeah.
there. So how do you guys prepare for that?
So we have an academic and workforce plan where we look at workforce data trends, and we kind of overlay that with what we can do right now as a campus, and what might we need to do as we move into the future. And that goes about 5 years out, but we update it every year.
I love it.
So when we started the campus in 21, we had our plan, and then when we looked
Yes.
at it the next year, we were like, well, yeah, we grew way faster than we thought we were.
Right.
So we're constantly looking at that. Right now, so I talked about the student spaces in the building. I'm also really trying to build out our academic programming, even the programs that we have. I think we talked about that adaptability with the students,
Yeah.
and I want all of our learning spaces to have that same adaptability. So
I love it.
we need to build programs to serve the needs right now, but we also need to be able to switch out the equipment or the types of training that it is happening in each of our spaces depending on what the needs are.
Yeah.
And so kind of building a flex lab, if you will, for every program
love
is my big dream.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, like I said, I think a lot of us that serve Hamilton County, that is always top of mind, is how do we adapt to the changing world that we live in? Because every year we get an accolade. And I always joke, Mayor Finkham and I talked about this. Being the number one city to live, we just kind of look at that and go, hey, awesome. And we kind of move on. There are people that are literally Googling, where should I live? Where
Yes.
should I go? And they're all finding that they're, and Mayor Finkham and I talked about this on her podcast. They're not all going to live in Carmel. They may live in Fishers, Noblesville, Westfield, Northern Hamilton County. But as long as we can get them here, and typically even our mayors will say that if I can get a company here and they see what we have, 9 times out of 10, I can sell our communities. But you play a pivotal role in that, is that now, the old model of economic development was we build the building and then we're going to find the people and we want 1,000 jobs and do this. Now the job numbers are less, the wages are going to be higher, and then they're asking economic development, okay, well, what's your workforce look like and what do you have? And so having you in our backyard, that is something we didn't have for a long time. Pre-2021 even, pre-2021, there was no opportunity to say, hey, we have higher ed and this is what it looks like. And so I think that's helped change the model for economic development for you, having you guys right here in Hamilton County, because now we have that data and we can show, like you just talked about, here's what we have today and here's what the future looks like. And I think that's a powerful thing. So my last question for you, what is one piece of advice you'd give someone who is considering taking that first step towards college or a career change? And obviously Ivy Tech, they should go, talk to you guys. But what does that look like for you guys, and what for
So
something like that?
I recommend, and honestly, this is something that would have been really hard for me when I was younger. But I think if this is uncomfortable, you need to do it anyway. Is to talk to people, and to talk to people that are outside of whatever network you're already in. So most people are willing to sit down and talk, and they want to talk to the next group of people that are interested in coming in. So if you can find some, and if you can't find anybody on your own, we're happy to connect people, but to learn about the job before you get into the job. And so reaching out to people, asking them if they would do a job shadow with you or an informational interview, and finding people to ask questions. I think a lot of times we imagine what a career looks like. And then and the classic story is like the student that wants to be a nurse, but then they realize they don't like they're not fond of blood. But so kind of trying to explore those before you step into a training program or you come to Ivy Tech or you go somewhere else would be my advice.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Kartz, thank you so much for being on our podcast. We truly appreciate it, and thank you for all you do. Because I'm just such a strong advocate for the work that you guys do each and every day. Because and that's why I was excited to have you on the podcast, because I want people to know that we have this gem that is doing amazing things right here in our own backyard. So I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
I
Yes.
appreciate you.